All right, there's all kind of talk going on now about Connor Williams, the signing, hearing all sorts of stuff. And there's a lot of good things to be taken from just about all these shows, things to consider, and to add to the scales of weighing in on Connor Williams. But the one thing I'm not really seeing a lot of is film study or film talk. And when you operate in stats, it's a way of condensing vast amount of film into a small number so you can get a general overview of what a player is doing and how they're performing. There's a lot of value to that, but there's a lot lost through that. And film study is absolutely critical to pair with your stats. We're an analytic age, and there's a lot of value to that. But always has to be paired with film study. So we're going to do some film study here on Connor Williams. I'm going to try to flesh out the situation. I was really having a good time, man. Really enjoyed it. Not that it was perfect film. Not he's the greatest thing since sliced bread and whatever. But after watching what I watched last year with the Miami Dolphins, this was like a trip to heaven. And I really enjoyed it. I've basically studied the film for like a day and a half. So it's a loose study, but I feel after watching several games, I have a handle on the player. So we're going to get into that. Now, also, I want to talk about in my last podcast, it was a little bit of misunderstanding, maybe what I was presenting. You can check at the 55-second mark till about 1 minute 10. And I'm going to show you the clip right here. To really start setting what the floor should be for us to view this regime and this season as a success. Now, floors are a lot easier than ceilings because you're looking at what you got and trying to say, if this is what we have, then I expect this. So my point of that podcast wasn't my prediction. It's my expectation given what has been accomplished so far. And I'll dig into all that why maybe in another podcast if people want. But for me, those are the floor of my expectations to view the 2022 season as a success. Will we get there? Will we surpass it? I don't know. It's a long way from there. Now, some of the stuff I said, if this happens, that will happen. So that would be my prediction. But the overall framework, the overall creation of that podcast was what I expect from McDaniel, this team, Greer, everybody, for me to look at them and say, it was worth moving on from Flores, and this was a successful season. We'll see how that pans out. Now, back to Connor Williams. Everybody's talking about the penalties, and you should. But there's so much, I guess, kind of misinformation. A lot of people are saying, oh, he's got, 17 penalties, 14 holding calls, and that's sacks or what. Not all those holding calls were in the pass game. There were some in the run game. And it really, from what I was looking at, it was only about 8 only holding penalties. So I have to I had it written down. But anyway, there was false starts. There was a roughing penalty in there. But there's around 8 actual holding calls. And 2 or 3 of them I saw were in the run game. So it wasn't all just a pass game. Now, this is not to dismiss it, but let's add some further context, okay? Now, Baidaz, I guess his name is, he's a center. He had 9. He was like in the top 10. Collins, he had 10. The Dallas Cowboy team itself was pretty sloppy last year. The offensive line was exceedingly sloppy. Now, why is that? These guys didn't usually have this kind of penalty level. Well, some of the context would be Dak's coming off an injury. You're doing everything possible to not get this guy hit, especially early. Also, the offense, I'm very happy Kellen Moore was not our coach. I don't like his offense, especially in the playoff game, which I'll get to in a minute. So there's a little bit of context here why these things were happening. This was a general theme for the team. Again, it doesn't excuse it, but the fact that Williams did not have this level of penalties in prior years, and he was benched around week 10, and most of his penalties came in like 2 or 3 games. And once he was benched for 2 or 3 games, they were trying to, all right, I've got the guy's name, bring him in there. And I realized this ain't working, bring Connor back. His penalties dropped dramatically. Now, he had two penalties in the playoff game, a false start, and a hold in the run, I believe it was the run game. But I'm going to show some context of that and how, again, it's very similar to the Dolphins, just really poor offensive game plans. Put the players in situations not to be successful. There's also some caveats to that as far as his game that allows this to happen. And I'll get into that in a second. Now, there was a lot of talk going on about him maybe moving to tackle because he's tackling in college. But I find this one little bit interesting. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's a strong possibility if Miami Dolphins want to maximize his talent is center. Now, in leading up to the 2021 season, he was taking reps at center, and people were even talking about, hey, well, he might take the starting job. And the talk of him playing center has been around for a while, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And I'll get into why I think this would be a good decision, but it's a very intriguing thing for him to possibly play center. And that would open up the doors to a lot of different things. I still think he'll probably play left guard, but center I don't see tackle. I really don't. Now, I'll get into why in a second. Now, here's the context for the film you're going to watch. I got a lot of film from Dallas Cowboys versus the 49ers in the playoff game. And you're going to see a lot of ugly plays. There's good plays too, but there's going to be a host of ugly plays. And I even had a Dallas Cowboy fan say, did you even watch this guy play? And you say he's good? Well, if you don't understand the context of the situation, sometimes it's very easy to misread it or overemphasize something. Now, Connor Williams has strengths and weaknesses like every other player. But the game plan for Moore was mind-boggling bad. Okay, 84% of their plays were in 3 wides, and 6% were in 4 plays in 12 personnel. I think they threw the football like 41, 42 times and ran the football only 12 times in a 23-20 loss. You cannot, with Eric Armstead, DJ Jones, Bosa, tell everybody we're going to basically have 5 guys blocking your 4. We're throwing all day, and we're going to stop you. These guys had their ears pinned back all game long. There was no reason for it because the game was relatively close. And this really put Connor Williams and the rest of the offensive line in jeopardy because the one thing you need to have is initiative. And so when we watch this film, keep this context. Now, at left guard, inside zone on the run game doesn't look to be the strength of Connor Williams. He can be played good at times. To me, the zone stretch, the outside zone, this suits his skill sets far more. His feet are pretty good. They're much better in the run game than in the pass game. And there's a little reason for that because he overcompensates because he's a little smallish. We'll dig into that in a second. Now, I don't feel like the Cowboys were optimizing his talents last year with the designs of their offense or possibly even his position. So let's take a look at the film and see what we see. All right, it's only one clip, but you'll see that Williams is very physical, likes to hit. And, this is a great thing for us. Great thing for any offensive line. But where he excels is his ability to chip and get to that second level. He hits that chip aggressively and then has the feet to get to the second defender and really pick him up. And time and time again, he chips him just enough for the tackle, the other blocker to get control, and then he'll get to the other side. He's quick enough, good feet, aggressive. I like the pop there. Again, over and over. He does just, you see that last shove? To get the defender under control and open up that gap. Now, you see here, he can even do man. He's good at one-on-one blocking. Little holdy, little grabby, but he's only 299, just barely 300. You can see the offsides here. So, and then this one, you can see this is a little bit about being young and not really holding gap integrity as he doesn't really look right side, but it's not the end of the world. But here's his main problem. He oversets. And I think you'll see this over and over again, oversetting and leaning. He goes head over toes, shoulder over toes, and these are the two big flaws in his game. And but also, again, this was a situation where he was set up for failure with all this. You see a heavy lean right there. But he's overcompensating too because he's small and the defenders got the ears pinned back. It was a really terrible game plan in this one game. We didn't do more research. But again, lean way over his toes. And that can get corrected and needs to get corrected. See right here, swim. You're going to see a lot of bad tape here, but you see he's leaning here and he still kind of wins, and then at the end he gets the swim. So this is a major corrective. Gets the bull rush. That's been like a knock on him, the inability to deal with the bull rush as a smaller guy. But it's not like he's terrible. I mean, he gets defeated here. The pass gets off, but you can see he struggles. But nice switch and swap there. There's a lot of good stuff coming up here. Again, a little bit the lean. He wins, but he's leaning. And so poor technique, even in success, can lead to more bad technique. Lots of leaning here. Still wins, but he's got to correct that. Again, a little bit of the overset, but managed to get in good hands inside. When his technique is good, he's brutal. He's a very good blocker. But he's only 25, and we got to remember that. See, inside here, look at this. He's a fighter. He's able to, drop his hips, move his feet. And so this kid's going to grow. He hasn't hit his prime yet. Again, see the lean. He's winning. He's physical. He's fighting. But it's that bad technique and success that's going to lead him to continue to use it. And it can be corrected. Again here, the lean, but he's a fighter. Gets his hands inside. He's able to drop those hips, pucker up the cheeks, and hold off the rusher. Now, there was a lot more victories than defeats. And considering that they would just threw the ball in high volumes, I saw a lot of good stuff. And you see right there, this is my favorite play. He's fighting. He's just about to lose. He could easily just pull him down and get the hold, but he doesn't. And there's a lot of growth left in this kid. Look at him fighting. And he doesn't quit. He's got the hands inside, and he fights him off with the one-arm stab just enough to get the ball. But that turns, I believe, into a touchdown. All right, so it's easy to fixate on the plays that weren't super successful. He oversets. He leans. Both of these things are because he's very aggressive, hard worker, which can lead to overcompensation. Also because he's not the biggest guy in town. And he also had to face guys that are highly talented, that had their ears pinned back. And so in that bit there, you say, oh man, this is ugly tape, this guy sucks. But remember, he was blocking alone in this non-conducive situation, probably like 80, 85% of the time, maybe a little more. Now, look at our guys. Last year, Jackson and Eichenberg were like Siamese twins. The two of them were always blocking one guy, which forced Miami into 12 personnel. I think Jackson maybe blocked alone 5, 10% of the time. If he was either getting help from Eichenberg or he was getting help from Dieter or the center, whoever was at the time. So, yeah, you'd like to see him block better one-on-one. But given the game plan, given the talent, this is not setting your plays up for success. But you could see that chip and go, man, it's really good. He's very physical. He understands. So there was one time he hit the guy and he realized I need to hit him a little bit more, and he got that extra shove and totally forced him into the tackle, I believe it was at the time, to get him under control, and then got to the second level. And this is where I think his greatest strength is and can be highly utilized in the zone stretch. And I like it better from the center position, because a lot of teams run fronts where that center isn't covered. And this will really allow him to help that guard and get to the second level. And he's a little bit smaller, so it really suits him moving inside. Still think he could be a quality left guard, but for me, Coach Curtis would say, get him at center, get him in there, and this kid could have a stellar career. And it will also help him with the leaning, because he'll occasionally get more help. And yeah, when that big nose tackle lines up over him, he might need a little bit more help, but he's not going to be on an island as much. So I really, really like him better at center. Now, if he does move to center, not saying this is just my projection, given the lineup we have right now, I think it would create the strongest lineup of the players. Not that I'm saying it's a strong lineup. I want more done. I've done heavy studies on the offensive line. But given what I'm seeing from Greer, what I'm seeing from McDaniel, and what I think they're going to end up doing, even though I'm not totally into it, taking the personnel we currently have and having a lineup that would actually maximize everybody's talents, except for one, I would have Williams at center, Davis at left guard. People, Davis sucks. Go watch Davis play when he plays left guard or right guard. You barely hear a peep. He's a vet paired with Williams as a vet, and you put him next to Jackson at left tackle. I hate Jackson's play. It's terrible, but they plan on using him because they spent a big pick, and I think he's like $7 or $8 million that they cut him. So you can't have an $8 million guy in a bench. You can if you really want to win, but Jackson's going to play, and he can't play guard, too weak. So they're going to try to get him back at tackle. And Dave, if you notice, Flowers was able to help him through in 2020. You'd have two vets. And because Williams can block alone at center, this means Davis can help Jackson more often than not and keep the defensive line guessing. Whenever most teams, left tackle, left guard, they block alone. The center mostly helps the right guard, and then the tackle usually blocks alone with a chip, probably from the back or the tight end if they really want to do that. But the fact that with Williams as center and he can block alone, this creates a masking of who's getting blocked. And the defenders then will be a little reluctant. They'll want to, am I going to get chipped? Am I not going to get chipped? You always want to create doubt in the defender's mind. What technique they're going to use, what play it is, and such and such. So this is why I like that. And then you'd have Hunt at right guard and Eichenberg at right tackle. Is this what I want? No, but this would maximize the talent. Personally, if Coach Curtis was in charge, I would put Eichenberg at left guard, I'd put Williams at center, Hunt at right guard, and I'd get myself 2 tackles. But I don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, so Jackson last year, because he was so bad and needed so much help, they were forced to pull in that 12 personnel to have those tight ends to basically be training wheels for this offensive line. And it restricted what they were able to do, with looks they were able to have. And this destroyed any hope of doing anything. Now, it would have been one thing if we could have run the football, but we couldn't even do that. So Williams, whether he plays guard or center, is going to free everything up because he can block alone a lot. Even if you dropped it from what he saw in Dallas from 85% to 60%, and he had a lot more run game to accentuate his talents and keep him on an island less, this is going to free us up to run our nickel on offense. It's a big deal. Is it going to change everything? No. To me, Jackson is a major hindrance Could he improve? Maybe. Eichenberg on the wings is a major hindrance. Can he improve? Maybe. We'll see. Okay? In the end, Greer's the guy who built this offense. He built everything. It's like back and forth. Flores was in control. He picked everybody. But he didn't pick Holland, and he didn't pick Phillips, and he didn't pick Waddle. But he was in control of everything. But no, he wasn't in control of everything. Greer picked everything. It's one or the other. You go back, Greer, when he came out of the Gase Tannenbaum thing, he said, I had the final say. He was in charge of everything. He made the final picks. Flores only had control of the 53-man roster during the season. That's it. Okay? He had influence, I'm sure, more at the beginning and less at the end. So Greer picked Eichenberg with the second and third, Jackson with the first overall, Dieter, he spent a third on, Kinley, he spent 2/4. Okay? So this offensive line is on him. And he should be, if this succeeds, if Eichenberg and Jackson play the tackles and they can go to the next level, McDaniel, his staff, and Greer should get kudos. But if this flops, I don't hear anything about how Greer is this, and this. Okay? We're in a situation where he could draft that rookie tackle, and that would really help things out. Or get another vet if they're going to, a vet center if they're going to keep Williams at left guard. But however you slice it, this team only go as far as this offensive line. Now, if you're talking Super Bowl, this team's in a hole. Look what happened with the Browns. Watson going to the Browns. And you got Wilson over at Denver. And you got major talent throughout the AFC. But we can't control that. Tua is here. And until they have a better option or he improves or whatever, this is what you got. You got to make the best of what you got. And if you can get an offensive line, you can at least be respectable and continue to build. But this offensive line flops, the season will flop, and Greer needs to be held fully responsible. Anyway, I'm going to continue digging into this offensive line, continue digging into Connor. You should have hope. Not that we're going to the Super Bowl and we got everything right, but at least you can see some respectable offense and some semblance of a run game because Williams is that good if he's used right, if he's put in the right framework. The kid's got talent. He needs to stop leaning. That stuff can be fixed. I don't know if we'll fix it, but it can be fixed. But we'll get into that another day. Anyway, this is Curtis saying thank you for staying to the end. Please like, comment, subscribe. Comments mean the most. I love the comments. Helps me refine everything that I do here. And I generate a lot of my podcast through comments, through your thoughts. Subscribes and likes to help us with the Google overlords and keep Ace Per Head, my sponsor, happy. Keeps us in business. So views, subscriptions, and likes. I don't like to push them, but that keeps me in business, and I like staying in business. So anyway, this is Kurt saying thanks for staying to the end. Catch you next time. Be well, and go Fins. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.